Hi, this is Frank Warren and you're watching Lights Out.
This is FAISAL Khan for Lights Out, and I'm at the Shoebox Boxing Gym up in Northampton. And with me, I'm delighted to be joined by Dempsey Madden. Dempsey, thank you very much for taking your time out to speak to us. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure, yeah, doing well, training hard, getting ready for when the crowds come back, and getting in there and hopefully getting fighting soon. So that's what we're hoping for.
A new prospect in the 147 welterweight division. You're still waiting for your pro debut. Just talk to us a bit about your amateur background, your amateur experience, and a little bit about yourself.
I've only had 3 amateur fights. That was back in 2014. They were in Wales. I moved to Wales for a little bit, and I had a couple of amateur fights out there. And then basically, then I didn't box for ages. And then there was one night I was actually in a pub, and I seen Kieran Conway on the telly. And I used to go to King's Heath boxing, amateur boxing, quite a while ago with James a few years ago. And I seen him. I thought, I know that kid. And then he was fighting Ted Cheeseman, and then from there, I contacted James and I said I'd like to get back into it and come back and do some training that. And yeah, now we're here. Now I'm a professional. So
it's considered obviously one of the toughest sports out there. I mean, besides boxing, what was you doing before you decided to turn pro?
It's always been boxing for me. But my dad used to be a professional boxer, and I'm named after a boxer as well. So I've always been around boxing. I'm boxing through and through, really. But so yeah, I've never done anything else other than boxing. So for sport wise.
These are obviously the most exciting times, just starting out, waiting for that professional debut. Now, obviously, we're going under this whole frustrating time with the pandemic. But what can you tell us about a potential fight date, and when can we expect to see you make your pro debut?
We're looking at. We think we'll hopefully be about March, maybe a little bit later, April maybe. And I'll be willing to fight anybody really. I'm not fussed when it comes to fighting. I'd fight anybody, but it's obviously that the managers and that they'll pick, and James will make a decision of where. But because of my age, because I'm getting a bit older, I think we'll be a bit more ambitious in opponents. Like we'll try and get like the better fighters. We'll try and climb that rankings like as quick as we can and take more risks, I suppose. And we'll go out on our shield if we lose, or hopefully we'll just keep cracking on. And yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to fight people with winning records every time. That's what I want to do.
James is building up a good stable here, as you obviously mentioned. Kieran Conway, Ethan James as well. Mike Stevenson, that I know quite well. Ben Vaughan's going to start off as well. You know what I mean? How much wonders has he worked for you so far, starting out?
It's been brilliant, really. It's like to train with these lads who have done national titles, and Kieran obviously where he is, and like sparring him and sparring all these lads who are brilliant amateur pedigrees, and it's been a real quick learning curve. So I'm able to learn really quick off all of them, and it's just been brilliant being with them. I haven't got the amateur experience, but I'm learning off them, and it's a good setup we've got here. Like we're all friends, but when we get in there, we spar hard against each other, and it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. It's a good setup, really good setup, and Kieran's obviously leading the way, but we're all gonna hopefully follow suit, and we'll be hopefully get to the same level, and it'll be real good, and it will attract, like once people see that, then you'll have younger kids that will come in and they'll say they trained with Kieran Conway and they trained with like the likes of Ethan and Ben, and it will just keep building and building, and it will become a centre for professional boxing for Northampton and surrounding areas.
147 welterweight division, one of the most toughest divisions out there, probably the most exciting division. I mean, obviously when they talk about the welterweights, the Spencers, the Crawfords, the Pacquiaos, but British domestic wise, the Conor Benns, the Chris Congos, and of course Josh Kelly, who fights on Saturday night. You're quite a while off those names, but who have you got as the sort of next heir to the throne in terms of the British domestic weight? Which fighter for you does go on to world elite level within the next year to 18 months?
I'd say you'd have to pick Josh Kelly, and Conor Benn looked really good in his last fight. I was really impressed with the way, he wasn't just come forward. He was balanced. He was really impressive. So I'd say those two are probably leading the way domestically. I'd say it's a flip of a coin which one you'd want to pick. But I'd say that them two are they're the standout names that, like you said, that I can think of, that they're probably the best ones at the weight.
One fighter that's still around is Amir Khan. For any British fighter growing up watching Amir Khan turning up to be pro, you'd obviously want to try and, some fighters I've interviewed in the past have said if they had half the career that Amir Khan's had, they'd, retire happily, But your thoughts on Amir Khan? Is obviously not fought for quite a while, and a lot of these welterweight prospects, including Josh Kelly and Conor Benn, have said that they'd be very interested in a fight with Amir Khan. What would you like to see Amir Khan do next?
I'd like to see him fight Kell Brook and just put that chapter to bed. And they're both. You could say the fight is too late, but they've sort of they've sort of had the same sort of career. They have gone up to that top level, and the very top level. Obviously, they've reached the top level, being world champions. But then there's that pinnacle level above where they've both been, and they've both come up short a bit. But I think for him to fight Kell Brook, I think that would be perfect, because obviously you've had Kell Brook's got the big loss with Golovkin, which that was damaging, and then you've got Amir Khan, who's got the big loss with Canelo, and then you've got the Errol Spence, and you've got, so I think even now that fight would still be appealing. They're both. You could say that it's past its best, but because they're both at the same level being past its best, it will still be entertaining. There's not one that shadows the other. So, do you know what I'm trying to say? So I think it would be still very entertaining fight. They're both at the same part of their career, sort of thing. So I think
it's a fight we'd all still like to see. Dempsey, just want to thank you very much for your time, and we'll be keeping an eye out for you, and we hope all goes well in the future, and we're looking forward to your pro debut.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Cheers, thank you.
Top man, thank you for talking to Lights Out.
No worries.